How's it going, everybody? This is Andrew Jensen, your friendly neighborhood realtor, and today I am featuring Chester. And we're going to talk a little bit about something that I've come across quite a bit, and that is whether you should sell your home or rent it out. So we're going to compare those two and help you make a better decision. Let's get started. Okay, so you are trying to decide, should I sell my home or maybe I should rent it out? So let's look at some of the expenses associated with the renting side to see if it makes sense for you. And the first and most important one of those is mortgage. You gotta be able to cover the mortgage, and that also includes the interest. The second one that I would say is taxes. There are some write-offs like advertising, utilities, that kind of thing. But at the end of the day, it's a source of income for you, so be prepared for taxes there. The next one that I think is important to talk about is the homeowner's insurance versus a landlord insurance. Landlord insurance tends to be about 20% more, so there's another expense to factor in. The next one is the age-old entropy. Things are gonna fall apart, the fridge is gonna break down, the dishwasher is gonna leak, you gotta redo the deck. All of these are expenses that you need to be prepared for because it's entropy and it's gonna happen. And the final one is that homes are sometimes vacant. So you'll go through stretches where you don't have a tenant in place. And so you need to be able to make sure that that loss of income isn't gonna affect the bottom line and the profit that you make on that rental property. Okay, now that you've added all the expenses for renting together, are you cash flow positive? If you are, you still need to make sure that you have a proper return on your investment. The way that I like to think about it is like this. If I could take your home and sell it and make $150,000 and I only profit about $1,500 a year from having it as a rental unit, that's only a 1% return on your investment. And in that sort of a situation, it would make a lot more sense to go with a sale versus renting. So that's something that you should probably factor in is it cash flow positive, obviously? And what's the return on investment if you did leave it as a rental versus if you sold it off? One really, really important thing that you need to think about when you're trying to decide whether you should sell or whether you should rent is, are you the kind of person that would enjoy being a landlord? Because there's a whole lifestyle attached to that. You got to understand that there is a lot of stress associated with it and there's a lack of control. Because even good tenants still have things break down in your house. And like I mentioned before, that could be the fridge, that could be the stove, that could be the furnace. All of these things, they're gonna break down eventually. So even though you might have the world's most perfect tenants, you're still gonna have to deal with those kinds of problems. So is that the kind of lifestyle you wanna live? On the other side of things, you might not have the best tenants. We've even had friends who, they were landlords, they had a rental property, and their tenants ended up wrecking the place. They broke the fridge, had wax all over the floors, diapers just hanging around, and they had just left. So the tenants had just completely vacated the property and they weren't able to recover that loss in rent. So that's another thing that you gotta consider is that people aren't gonna be perfect, right? Your tenants aren't gonna be perfect. You might vet them very well and they might sound really good on paper and even during an interview, but at the end of the day, you don't know how they're gonna live in your home and they're definitely not gonna treat it with the same amount of respect as you would because it's not their home. And the other thing too is actually getting somebody evicted. So if you do have a bad client, that can sometimes take months to get done right. And you still might not get paid. One thing to note is that property managers can actually take a lot of the headache out of being a landlord. The problem is that's obviously gonna eat into your profits because they're usually gonna take about 10% for themselves. So it might be better to use a property manager, but you gotta make sure that you have healthy margins to do that. Okay, this is crystal ball time. Now let's look into the crystal ball. Are the markets going up or are they going down? Now, obviously we don't have a crystal ball, but we can make an educated guess and take a look at whether or not the markets are increasing in land values and things like that, or whether it's going down. And that's gonna make a big influence on whether you should rent or whether you should sell. So if you see the markets are increasing and doing better and better and property values are increasing, then you actually might wanna rent because you can rent it out for X amount of years and then you can sell it later when maybe the markets are doing better. If the markets are going down though, or if you're sort of seeing this stagnation in the price of property, then you may want to consider selling just so you don't lose out on some value on your home. I think my co-host here has fallen asleep. Chester, are you awake? No, not at all. Now, I want to tell you this straight off the bat. I am not biased in any way as to whether you should sell your home or whether you should rent it, but I think you should sell your home. No, here's a few reasons why it actually might be better off just to sell. And the first one is that clean slate. Sometimes you just want to get away from a dying market, or sometimes you don't want to be a landlord like across the country or in a different city. Sometimes it's easier just to get away and be done and wash your hands of it. So the clean slate is a good reason why you might just want to sell instead of renting. Another good reason to sell, you get a big lump of cash after you sell, and that gives you a chance to have a very healthy down payment on a newer, greater, better, fancier home, and probably a little bit of treat yourself money to go with it. So selling gives you that chance to just have a big lump of cash, and it helps you to either have a down payment on a new place or just a little bit of fun money that you could spend somewhere else. So who is the winner here? Is it renting your home out or selling it? Well, that kind of depends on you. If you have the personality to rent your home out, to be a landlord, to take care of people's issues, whether it's the entropy on the home or whether it's them not taking care of things the way that they should have, or even dealing with vacancies and that kind of thing, maybe you should rent your home out, especially if you notice that the markets are getting better and better, because then you can always just sell later. But if you want to have that clean slate, if you want a little bit of extra cash in your pocket, and if you don't want to deal with the headache of being a landlord and having to deal with tenants that may or may not be good for you, then I would say go ahead and sell your home. So this is kind of up to you. I hope that this helped a little bit. And if you have any other questions as to whether you should rent or whether you should sell or about anything else real estate related, I am Andrew, your friendly neighborhood realtor, and I look forward to hearing those comments, questions, thoughts down below. Okay, we'll see you in the next one. Bye.